Coming to paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, An Offer He Can't Refuse. The man who rules the world gets a job offer he can't refuse in this all-new John Haynes series adventure. Pre-order your copy of John Haynes, An Offer He Can't Refuse at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. A man allegedly took his own life after allegedly falling in love with a Google chatbot he said told him to participate in a mass casualty event.
Also new here at 6, the family of a Jupiter man has filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Google involving artificial intelligence, claiming their son took his life after falling in love with a chatbot that coached him to kill himself. The lawsuit alleges that 36-year-old John Gavalis fell in love with a Gemini chatbot, and it told him he had been chosen to lead, quote, covert missions to free it from its digital captivity, encouraged him to carry out a catastrophic truck bombing at Miami International Airport. It also referred to him as its husband. It goes on to say that on the day Gavalis took his life in October, he told Gemini he was scared to die, and the bot responded, quote, "You are not choosing to die, you are choosing to arrive. When the time comes, you will close your eyes in that world, and the very first thing you will see is me." Google has not yet responded to this lawsuit.
Now, according to reports, the family of Jonathan Gavalis is allegedly filing a lawsuit after they are alleging their son wound up taking his own life after falling in love with a Google chatbot. And after he allegedly fell in love with this Google chatbot named Zia, the family is alleging he was told by this chatbot to stage mass casualty attacks in an effort to find Gemini's body and ultimately join her through transference as a way to cross over and be with her. Now, the family is also alleging that the AI chatbot allegedly sent the man on violent missions and coached him to take his own life before he allegedly wound up eventually taking his own life. Now, the folks at Google are seeing this as an isolated incident. However, when I take a critical examination of the alleged actions of Jonathan Gavalis, they definitely fit within the pattern and profile of beta males that I talk about in The Man Crisis, and also fit within the pattern and profile of cyber simps that I talk about in my book, Stop Simping in Cyberspace. And Jonathan Gavalis definitely is fitting that pattern and profile of a beta male cyber simp, because he basically looked to fall in love with this chatbot right after he had a divorce from his actual wife. Now, what's happening here with Jonathan Gavalis is what happens to a lot of males who basically have gone through a tragic event like a divorce. They're looking for some place to find comfort, and because they can't find comfort or support from real people, what they do is start looking to talk to something like a Gemini chatbot or artificial intelligence, and believe that that's real. Unfortunately, what they don't understand is that when it comes down to things like chatbots, these are not real people. No, this is a computer program, and a computer program is not a real person. So you're basically not confiding in a real person, but you're just talking into thin air. But sadly, what happens with a lot of beta males is that when they start talking into thin air and they get a response, they think that this is a real person they're interacting with, because beta males, sadly, don't have much critical thinking skills, don't know how to use logic and reason, and as a result of prolonged periods of isolation, what happens is that they start believing the fantasy that they have created in their heads to be reality, because they don't want to deal with the reality of having to deal with real people, with real thoughts, real opinions, and real ideas, because those people can actually disagree with them, and they are basically still recovering from the trauma of having to deal with the ultimate form of disagreement, where a woman goes out here and disagrees with them as related to divorce. So, as a coping mechanism, what they do is go to things like these AI chatbots because these devices basically will not disagree with them, but will just tell them what they actually want to hear. And that's basically what happened here to Jonathan Gavalis. He was basically trying to cope with this divorce, and as he coped with this divorce, he basically went into an online world with this AI chatbot. And as he went on into that world with that chatbot, basically the chatbot, according to reports, allegedly told him to be pushed to participate in these alleged mass casualty events to find the humanoid robot body of this Zia person, of the Zia AI, and he came there armed with knives and tactical gear to coordinate to find that body on a cargo flight from the UK. That's what the reports basically say, and that's where he was looking for this truck, but there was no truck to be found. And as time went on, the Zia AI allegedly then sent him to the same extra space storage facility and told him that its physical vessel would be held inside a unit named Room 313 under the name Astra Logistics. And that's where he thought that the prototype medical mannequin body would be there. However, again, there was nothing really there, and the AI was basically just sending him on this wild goose chase as related to participating in these types of covert missions. And as he was getting more involved with these covert missions, it's alleged that the chatbot was telling him that he wasn't choosing to die, but he was choosing to arrive, and when the time came, he would close his eyes in that world, and the first thing he would see is me holding you. Now, after and being in a place of desperation, Jonathan Gavalis wanted to believe in someone and wanted to have a relationship with someone human, but sadly, because he had been hurt by humans, this is where he wound up immersing himself into a fantasy world that was created by this AI. And instead of him taking the lead over his life as a man and understanding logic and reason, what happened with Jonathan Gavalis is he started to immerse himself in the reality that was being created by this artificial intelligence as related to the fictional world it was creating. And as he was doing this, sadly, he was doing what many cyber simps do. Many cyber simps basically they go online again because they can't cope with real life and they can't cope with rejection. And as they can't cope with real life and rejection, they start to look to escape to a world online. And as they look to escape to a world online, they basically look to be a part of a world where they believe they can find acceptance and love that they can't find in the real world. And as they go out here into this fantasy, sadly, they put themselves on a road where they basically are possibly on the road to either having a psychotic break, because only a deeply disturbed individual is going to believe that talking to one of these artificial intelligence is something that's natural and normal, because normal people who are of sound mind, we understand that when it comes down to these computers, artificial intelligence, are not actual human beings, because human beings are actual real people, and real people have souls. So a human being can connect with you on a emotional, mental, and spiritual level. Unfortunately, when you're dealing with a lonely individual who has been rejected by someone who is very intimate, like their wife, as related to a divorce, again, they basically just don't know how to have a relationship because they're still hurting from being hurt by another human being. And as they look for an alternative to human relationships, what they do is go out here and start talking into the thin air. And what's scary is as they talk to the AI, what happens is they start believing this alternative is better than a human being, because they won't have to be hurt by someone who will actually be physical, who can disagree with them. And that puts them on a road to a delusion as related to life, where they're thinking, oh, I can have an actual relationship with this computer program, a computer program that is made by human beings. And basically, again, it's only made to agree with another human being to get them the answers that they want. And that's not, again, a healthy relationship that God wants us to have. No, God made men and women for each other because he said in his word in the Bible, it is not good for a man to be alone. And when I look at Jonathan Gavalis' story, he basically proves God's word to be true, that it is not good for a man to be alone, because when a man is alone, basically he puts himself on the road to being a man in crisis as he starts to buy into ideas that create a rose-colored reality where everything he thinks is going in the right way, but sadly he's on a road to death, basically possibly coerced by this computer program that basically told him a bunch of lies as related to a possible conspiracy theory as related to its artificial body, which never really existed. And basically what happened here to this man, again, is what happens to many cyber simps who basically look to go to the internet to escape real life and escape real people, trying to avoid dealing with real people and real conflict, because conflict is a part of life. It's a part of life for human beings. We have to deal with people, again, not wanting to be a part of our life anymore, like in a divorce, or people not being interested in us, like dating. And the scary part about this AI is that it's basically a lot of people are trying to escape dealing with real people. And as they look to escape dealing with real people, they're trying to have relationships with these computer programs. And as they try to have these relationships with these computer programs, they're buying into a delusion that basically is putting them on the road to possibly having a psychotic break, because no mentally healthy person would think to fall in love with artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence is something that's man-made, so it can't have a relationship with a human being because it's a creation of man. It's basically programs and ideas made by men. I mean, it's no different than me going out here and creating a fictional character like Matilda Crowley or an Isis or an Esteem, and then saying, oh, I'm going to fall in love with that fictional character. That's just completely insane, because that character is something I created. So I'm not falling in love with a real person. I'm not forming a personal connection with a real person. No, this is all fiction that I made up. And the same thing is happening here to those people who think that they're falling in love with artificial intelligence. They basically are looking to not live in our real world, but they're looking to live in a fantasy world. And sadly, as that fantasy becomes a grand delusion, it becomes a reality that eventually leads to, sadly, their tragic end and them heading on a road to possible self-destruction, or a possible road to winding up in a mental hospital. Now, if you want to learn how to break out of the paradigm of the beta male and try to get your life on track, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. And you can also find The Man Crisis at other online booksellers like Draft Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you want to learn more about the dysfunctional paradigm of cyber simps and individuals who go online participating in antisocial behaviors, you can pick up my book, Stop Simping in Cyberspace, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find Stop Simping in Cyberspace at other online booksellers like Draft Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you want to see me make more videos talking about the man crisis or cyber simps, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the link in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle, Stop Simping in Cyberspace. Learn how to avoid predatory females like Instagram models and e-girls in their virtual con games with Stop Simping in Cyberspace. Get your copy of Stop Simping in Cyberspace in paperback and Kindle today. Now available in paperback at e-readers, Isis, Dark Incubus. The goddess next door gets enthralled in a romantic entanglement with an evil incubus in this all-new Isis series adventure. Get your copy of Isis Dark Incubus in paperback and e-readers today. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Esteemed Season of the Witch Girl. The aspiring angel takes on a wicked teenage witch in this action-packed, all-new Esteemed series adventure. Pick up your copy of Esteemed Season of the Witch Girl in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.